This video was made possible by Brilliant, a math and science problem-solving website that makes learning fun and rewarding. A mind dominated by greed views the world from a self-centered perspective, approaching every interaction with the thought, "What will I gain from this?" Greed only thinks about itself, seeing itself as the center of the universe. It wants to acquire things from the world and hoard them. It wants to use the things it acquires to protect and elevate itself. But does that work? What effect does greed have on a person, and what's the cause of it? In A Christmas Carol, Charles Dickens explores these questions, and the answer, in my opinion, is best demonstrated through the character of Jacob Marley. Marley mainly views the world through the lens of profits and losses. What will I profit from this, he thinks. What will I lose? So what effect does this worldview have on him? Marley spends the majority of his life working with his business partner Ebenezer Scrooge, not really paying attention to anyone unless it concerns his own profits and losses. He focuses solely on taking as much as he can from the world while giving up as little as possible. And when Marley finally passes away, no one but Scrooge shows up to his funeral. And Dickens says that even Scrooge is not really sad about his passing. And so, 7 years after his death, Marley visits Scrooge as a ghost wrapped in chains, and he tells Scrooge that he's doomed to walk the earth with the burden of regret. I think this final scene gives us the biggest insight into the fate of the greedy mind. Marley spent his whole life acquiring things, and in the end, what did he really acquire? Burdens, represented by the chains he wears as a ghost. He carries the burden of regret, having wasted his life in a fruitless mission. So basically, Dickens says that greed leads to regret. But how does this happen? Greed is fueled by an insatiable desire. An insatiable desire is the root of suffering. When we want something, we're miserable as long as we don't have that thing. And since the greedy mind always wants something, it spends its whole life in misery, chasing one thing after another. And when it reaches the end of its life, it realizes there was no point to the chase, to the things that it acquired, because it can't take those things with it. The only thing that lasts after our deaths is the effect of our actions. Or in other words, the only thing that lasts after our deaths is the things we give to the world, not the things we get. And so the greedy mind, which spends its life taking and never giving, realizes it's been on an empty chase the whole time. So in the end, the greedy mind is left with a life of misery and nothing of value to last beyond it. But what's the cause of greed? Dickens tells us in the beginning of the story that, essentially, Marley and Scrooge are interchangeable characters. So the cause of greed for Marley and Scrooge would be the same. And what's that cause? Dickens writes, quote, "You fear the world too much. All your other hopes have merged into the hope of being beyond the chance of its sordid reproach. I have seen your nobler aspirations fall off, one by one, until the master passion, gain, engrosses you." End quote. So the cause of Marley's greed is fear. He desires security from the world, and he seeks security through acquiring wealth. But does that work? The answer is, of course, that it doesn't. Marley still dies in the end, because no amount of wealth, as far as we know, can protect you from death. But even as a wealthy man gains more money, he never gains enough. At what point will he feel secure? Once he has some money, he feels insecure about not having more money. Then once he has even more money, he feels insecure about possibly losing that money. And so the greedy mind never finds the security it so desperately seeks in its wealth. It seems the fate of the greedy mind is regret, and one of the causes of greed is fear. A person desires security, which leads to fear, which leads to greed. But true security isn't found through greed. No matter how much we accumulate and how many walls we construct around ourselves, we'll never be absolutely secure. And actually, security is more easily found in love. If the world loved us so much that it desired for no harm to come to us, that would be true security. And this is an idea we'll explore in the next video. As always, this is just my opinion and understanding of A Christmas Carol, not advice. Feel free to use this information however you like. And if you have a different take on the story, I'd love to hear your perspective in the comments. And if you're looking for a gift to give the ambitious learner in your life, I recommend checking out this week's sponsor, Brilliant. Whether it's an inquisitive niece, an all-knowing parent, or the neighbor who seems to have everything, I know your curious loved ones of all ages will be excited to grow with Brilliant's interactive learning approach. Brilliant uses interactive puzzles to help you learn science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and their platform is built off a simple yet effective principle. You learn best while solving problems in real time. Brilliant starts you off with simple problems, but they increase in difficulty bit by bit until, before you even realize it, you've learned a fundamental concept in logic, science, math, or computer science. Check out this example from their newly redesigned logic course. Here you can actually drag and drop these cute little animated robots while solving fun logic puzzles. You'll start with the truth-seeking lesson, which seems almost obvious, but then you'll quickly learn how to incorporate advanced, multi-level thinking. Give the gift of learning to your loved ones by going to www.brilliant.org/freedominthought or use the link in the description below. And the first 200 people to use the link will be given 20% off the annual subscription for yourself or for someone else. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.